All right. So I'm just gonna get my book out real quick here. Forgot to do that. Um, has anyone had any issues with the assignment for this week? Okay. Well, yeah, if you just turn in what you've got so far, I can take a look at it and give you feedback. If you want to talk after class, we can do that too. All right. So, so this upcoming week, we are going to do a slightly more open-ended assignment. It's going to involve um, you designing something from scratch, pretty much, and modeling it in SolidWorks. So it's going to be kind of fun. And there's a couple exercises that I want to go over in order to kind of get you ready for that assignment. Um, so let's start, if you have your book, on page 4-2. It's right at the beginning of chapter 4. And we're going to do this first exercise, which is basic solid modeling, extrude and revolve. So this shows you a couple of things, including how to do a revolved extrude and how to do an extruded cut, which we haven't really covered yet. So far, all we've really gone over as far as making things three-dimensional is a basic extruded boss base, which we went over last week. But I want to cover a few more of these tools so that you kind of have an idea of how to use them and what they're good for. So, any questions before we get started on that, or? Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I know it can be tough. I'm not sure on my end if you're all staying with me or not. So if you feel like I'm going too fast at any point, just speak up. Just say, "Hey, I'm lost. Slow down." That's totally fine. But yeah, I'll definitely try and slow down. It's tough because I've done all of these exercises, a gazillion times too. So I kind of just roll through it. But I know seeing it for the first time, you're not quite as familiar. So, all right. So we're gonna start a new sketch. First off, can everyone see my screen? Cool. All right. So we're gonna start a new sketch. We're gonna go up to that corner, and we're going to start in the front plane. So if you wanted to pick a different one, um, you can use your middle button, your scroll button, and click down on it to grab and kind of drag the screen around. But we're going to select the front plane for now. So we'll start there. And next we're going to click Insert Sketch. And we're going to use, okay, we did just click Insert Sketch. We're going to use the straight slot command, which is in your sketch tools up here. I don't think we covered that one yet, but this is a straight slot. So this one's kind of cool. You'll see how it works. And if you click the little down arrow, you can do a straight slot, you can do a center point straight slot, a 3-point arc slot, or a center point arc slot. So they all do different things. I won't go into that quite yet. But right now we're going to just do the first option, which is a straight slot. So let's click on the origin. We'll do a left mouse click on the origin here, and then release, and then drag your mouse straight over to the right. You're not holding a button down or anything at this point. And then you're going to do a second click somewhere off to the right. Doesn't really matter at this point how long you make that line. And then we're going to drag the mouse outward, and it's going to create this slot shape. So basically, the way this works is it's going to give you an equal top and bottom line that are in equal distance from that center line you created. and it's going to connect them with arcs on either end. So pretty simple. And then whenever you're ready to let go, whenever you decide what size you want to make it, and again, it doesn't really matter at this point, we're going to dimension it later anyway, you just do another click and it lets go of it. Is everyone still with me on the slot?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So then we actually, before we start dimensioning, let's pick our units of measurement, which it says at the beginning of the exercise we're going to be using inches. So let's do IPS down here in the lower left corner. Alright, we should have done that before we started our sketch, but as always, I forgot. So we're just going to go back, just click on your shape, just do a left click, and then you'll see this little box come up, and just click Edit Sketch to go back in. Everyone still with me? Alright. No problems? Cool.
I'm able to watch it, but my other laptop's down and I can't use it. Anyways, I'll come back for you.
Okay, no worries if you're alright with that then. That's fine by me. Okay, so now we're going to dimension it. So just click your Smart Dimension tool up there. And the first one it wants us to do is, let's see. So we're going to define the length of the center line. So you can just click the center line or you can click the two endpoints. I'm just going to click the center line. And then the length is going to be 1.25. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then the radius of our slot end arcs here are going to be 0.5. So we're going to go 0.5. There we go. Alright, so that's fully defined now. It should be fully defined in your sketch. And then another thing they want us to do, and I'm going a little out of order here, I guess they already mentioned this, they want us to put two circles on the centers of our arcs here, so on our end points of our center line there. So let's go up and let's just select the circle tool. Oops. And just click on the origin for your first one. And then you're going to click the other end of that center line for the second one. Yeah. Okay. Mhm. Hmm.
That happens to me when I was working on the lab, and I didn't know how to fix it. I just started a new part, and it ironed itself out.
Okay. Are your units in your lower right corner here, are they IPS? Okay. And it's just calling it something different than the dimension that you put in. Okay. Hmm. All right. Because, well, so if you, can you see my screen if you click on that dimension? And then if you look at this box on the left over here, make sure that your values, let's see, you should have in this, do you see where my mouse is, this 1.25 inches? Try typing it directly in there. Did that do anything? And then if that's still not helping, you can also look at this dimension text box right here, right underneath. Mine has a little couple of symbols with dimension in between them. Um, the greater symbol and then the less than symbol with dimension in between. And just maybe delete everything out of that box if you have something other than what I have in there. Because sometimes, like, if you put something in here, then what shows up on your screen will be in here, and sometimes that, like, can get corrupted. So, like, say for instance, I wanted it to display the text inches after. I would type in inches, and it would show it here. But if you don't want that, you can just get rid of it in that box. Does that make sense to everyone? Does everyone kind of see what I'm talking about there? Hmm, interesting. Maybe try going down to your units here. And then just try changing it back to meters and then back to inches again and see if anything happens. I don't know. Just a thought. Without looking at your screen, it's hard to say like exactly what could be going on there, but sometimes things just get, wonky in the software and you kind of have to go in and manually fix it. So, um, anyway. All right. Um, let's go ahead and continue on. Let me know if you have any more issues there, but if it's not doing it exactly if it's not doing exactly what you want it to do at this point, it doesn't really matter. It's more important that like you go through the exercise and if it technically is the right dimension, it's just showing the wrong units for some reason, it's not going to mess up your eventual final product. Is pretty much what I'm trying to say. So, um oh, nice. All right, that's good to hear. I always like it when my advice works out. Um, cool. So the next step, we're gonna make those two circles that we just created equal to each other. So we're gonna add a relation. We're gonna select this circle and this circle, and we're gonna say equal. And it should say equal radius 3 or equal radius some number. It doesn't matter if it's actually 3. And then click OK. And then those circles should have, let's see, they should have a diameter of 0.325. So we're going to go ahead and dimension those. And we'll put the dimension on the one on the right, kind of like how it shows in the book. So we'll say 0.325. All right, is everyone still with me here? Cool. All right, so oh, it's all right. You got it figured out, or do you need anything? No worries. All right. So you got it? Cool. Okay, so next step, we're going to go over to our Features tab in the upper left corner here. So just click that Features tab, and we're going to do an extruded boss base. And then our end condition here is going to be mid-plane, so that's direction 1. Instead of blind, we're going to go mid-plane, and that means it's going to extrude it equally in both directions from your sketch instead of extruding one way or the other. Do you see what I'm talking about? Where it's kind of going off both sides. So that's what mid-plane extrude means. And the extrude depth we want is 0.75 inches. So it's going to go kind of half of that in either direction. And we're going to go in our box here, we're going to go 0.75, and it should look about like this. Does everyone have that? So we'll go ahead and click OK. And you should have a block with 2 holes in it like this. Is everyone with me on that? All right. If nobody's lost yet, we'll go over to the next page, 4-4. And let's see, it says this is creating the bore holes. So we're going to actually do what's called a counter bore on each of these holes. And we're going to use the mirror function to do that. So we're going to put counter bores on this side, which is basically, if you don't already know what that is, you're going to make a bigger hole on top of this hole that doesn't go all the way through. So it would be like a space for if you were to put a fastener in there for the fastener head to seat into the part and be flush with the top. That's typically what a counter bore is for, something along those lines. We're just going to put it on one side, and the mirror function is going to mean that it automatically mirrors it to the other side of the hole. So we'll have that counter bore on both sides without having to do it twice. All right. 0.75 inches, I believe. Yeah. All right. So we're going to select the front face of our part here, which it doesn't really matter which side that is. You can put it on this side, or you can flip it around and put it on this side. It's gonna all come out the same in the end anyway. So select that face just by clicking on it once, and it should turn light blue like that. And then we're going to have this little box hovering here, and we're gonna click, let's see, sketch right here. So does everyone see where my mouse is? And that's going to allow us to sketch right on that face. So we've got sketch 2 over here now in our tree. And let's go normal 2. So that way we're looking straight at it. Okay, did everyone get how I did that? Anyone have an issue with creating that sketch on the face there? It's a little different than how we normally start a sketch, so alright, so the next step here, we're going to do a circle. And we're just going to start it right on the origin here, which is also the center of that hole. And we're going to drag it out to a little bit bigger than the hole that we already have. And then we're going to do a second circle, and it's going to be on the center of this hole here. So you can't actually see the center of this hole because the origin isn't in it. So the way we find the center is actually just hover your mouse over the edge of the circle, and you'll see that little center pop up in the middle there, and just go ahead and put your mouse on that. So don't click anything. You just want to hover right here, and then you'll see that center, and you can go click on the center and then do another circle off of that. So now you should have 2 approximately equal circles here. And we'll click OK. Does everyone have that so far? Any questions? All right. So now we're going to add a relation. We're going to click that little down arrow and click add relation. And we have arc 2 selected, which is this circle. We're going to also select arc 1 here. If you don't have them both selected, you'll just have to click both of them. And then we're going to make those equal. And then click OK. All right. So now that we have those two equal circles, the next step is going to be to do an extruded cut. So that's similar to an extruded boss base, but you go over here and it's actually this tool right here, extruded cut. It kind of does the same thing, but instead of creating material, it takes away material. So we're just going to click on that. And it's going to be from the sketch plane. The direction is going to be blind. And let's see. If you'll have to turn your part to the side a little bit to see which way it's going. And we want to click this so that we know you want it going into your part, not out of your part. So see how if I click that pair of arrows there, they come out. We actually want them to go in. And then the depth is not going to be 0.75. It's actually only going to be 0.15. So we're going to click 0.15. And then it should show the end of your cut somewhere like right inside the part, not all the way through. Is everyone still with me? All right. So we'll go ahead and click. Okay, I'm sorry. Did you get stuck anywhere particular or? Hmm. Okay. Um, do you want to try again and tell me what the error was specifically? Okay. All right. All right. If you're okay with that. Yeah, sometimes it's just easier if you just do it on your own and you can pause the video and figure things out as you go. So, but if anyone runs into issues, I also do like to be able to solve them on the fly because, sometimes it helps everybody if you're running into something. Somebody else might have the same problem. So don't feel like you're holding up the class or wasting time if you have a question. Definitely feel free to speak up. All right. So, um, once you do your extruded cut, you'll see you've got these counter bore holes here now. Does everyone see that? Were you all able to get that? Okay. All right, cool. So, let's see what's next. So you should have those little counter bore holes, and we're going to flip the page. We'll be on 4-6. So now this is the fun step. We're going to actually mirror those bore holes. So that's in our feature tree up here as well. See the little mirror button right here? And if I hover over it, it kind of explains what it does. Mirrors features, faces, and bodies about a plane or a planar face. In assemblies, you can mirror assembly features. So we're we're going to use that. First, we need to select the plane that we want to mirror about. So remember how we did a mid-plane extrude for this part? So the front plane is right in the middle here. So we can use that to mirror these extruded cuts around. So we're going to go over to our feature manager tree here, and we're going to select the front plane. And you should see it show up like this. Just a big light blue rectangle. And then we're going to click this mirror tool. And the features that we want to mirror are these extruded cuts. So the way we select those is actually we go over and we click the little down arrow by part 1 here in the top left. Does everyone see that? So you're going to click that down arrow and you're going to see your extrude 1, which is that first block that we created, and then our cut extrude 1. And that's the feature that we want to mirror. So we'll click that and it'll show up in this box here. And that's all we've got to do. If you grab the screen with your middle scroll button and you drag this around to the other side, you can see it's showing you what a preview of where those extruded cuts are going to go. Does everyone see that? Cool. All right. So when we click OK, they'll show up on the other side, and we'll have those extruded cuts on both sides of our part. So I'll go ahead and click OK there. And now you've got them on this side and on this side. Pretty cool, huh? I always get excited when features like this work. All right. Is everyone with me? Anyone else stuck? Any questions before we move on? Okay. I'll just go ahead and continue on. So, we're going to add a couple more cuts to this part. So we're going to select that top face up here, this rectangle on the top of our part. So we're on step 6 on page 4-6 if you're following along in the book. So we want to select that face that they show there and open a new sketch, which is going to be hover over this and click that little sketch button right there. And you'll see sketch 3 show up on the left over here. Okay. So let's go normal to sketch 3. Let's go boop. And we're going to sketch a horizontal and vertical center line on the part. As shown on page 4-7. So what they're showing is they go from the center here. They draw a center line right down the middle. It kind of cuts it in half. So we're going to click our line tool. We're going to click the down arrow next to the line tool here. So we can select the center line tool, which is this dotted line in the middle. And we're going to start right here at this. If you hover over this line, you'll see that center point show up as a little yellow dot. When you hover over it, it turns orange. It's kind of tiny and hard to see, but so go ahead and click on that point and drag your center line straight down and end it at the other side of your part, right here. And then we're going to also draw a vertical center line. And so in the book, they show this part sideways. So they're calling this one horizontal, and they're calling the other line that comes out vertical. So in order to look at it, to see the view that they see, you can flip your part really easily. And you do that by holding down your Alt key and pressing the left and right arrows. So if I hold down my Alt key and I press the right arrow, it's going to turn it 15 degrees each time. So now I've got it facing the other way. And if you want to put it back, you can go the other way. You just use the left and right arrows. I'm going to put it like that. So now we're going to do our vertical center line. So we'll select that center line tool again. We're going to find the middle of this first line that we drew. We're going to start there, and we're going to go straight up. And we're going to go right to, well, they show it going a little bit past the end of the part there. So, all right, so a little bonus question for everyone here. You don't actually really get anything for answering it, but this next step in the book, they make a mistake, and I'm going to go through the step, and you try and tell me what the mistake was that they made in the book. So, once you have those two lines, you're going to sketch a rectangle on only one side of this horizontal line. And then you're going to mirror it to the other side. So before we sketch the rectangle, we're going to click the dynamic mirror command. So let's see, in our sketch tools here, where is that one? I always forget where they put it. We can go tools and then sketch tools. We'll just go in here and we'll click dynamic mirror. Does everyone see that? All right. I'm going to go ahead and click dynamic mirror, and that's going to allow us to draw shapes, and those shapes will be mirrored automatically as we draw them, which is why it's called dynamic mirror. So we'll go ahead and click that. They want us to select the line or linear model edge to mirror about. We're going to use that center line that we drew as our sketch line that we want to mirror about. Click that. And now anything we draw on one side of this line will be mirrored on the other side. Let's click our rectangle tool and give it a try. We're going to do a corner rectangle. Yeah, corner rectangle. And we're going to do it on one side of this line that we're mirroring about. And it's going to show up as soon as we click out of it. It's going to show up on the other side. Does everyone see that? I haven't gotten to the mistake yet, so don't worry. Next, we are going to click off of the dynamic mirror. So, click OK. And we'll go back into Tools, go back to Sketch Tools, and we'll turn off our dynamic mirror button here. All right, everyone still with me? Cool. I hear one person saying yes every time I ask. Is anybody not still with me that needs help catching up? Okay. This is the cool thing about doing these classes virtually, is that I can record everything and you can go back and go through all the practices at your leisure. The thing that's tough is that, like, if we were all in a classroom right now, I'd be walking around helping you, you know, when you get stuck. I want to make sure that everybody actually goes through the exercise in the classroom. And yeah, I kind of wish we were too, but hopefully we can get back to that sooner than later. So anyway, little random thoughts on teaching for you for the day. So the next step here, we're going to add a couple of relations and dimensions. So we turned off our dynamic mirror tool. But since this rectangle down here is mirrored off of this top one, anything we do this to this top one is now going to be done to the bottom one as well. So if I were to drag this one, see how the bottom one moves with it. So what we're going to do is add a symmetric relation to the three lines, the three vertical lines. So this vertical side of the rectangle, the other vertical side of the rectangle, and that vertical center line that you have. And that will center the rectangle around that center line. So we'll go ahead and click Add Relation. We're going to select both sides of our rectangle. And you should see them both show up here, line 5, line 7. If yours have different numbers, it doesn't matter. And then that center line. And we're going to make them symmetric. So you should have this symmetric relation down here in your options of relations you can add. Go ahead and click on that, and you'll see your rectangle is now symmetric around that center line. And the bottom one will be directly underneath it, so it'll also be symmetric around that center line. And then click OK. And let's see. Then we're going to, and keep your eyes peeled for the mistake I mentioned, we're going to add dimensions to fully define the sketch. And the book gives us, let's see. The book gives us a couple dimensions, so we're going to select the distance between the two rectangles, and we're going to make that 0.23. 0.23. All right. And then the width of this rectangle is going to be 0.3. We're going to go 0.3 and enter that. And this center line here should have a center point. So we want to make that center point coincident with this line right here that you can see me hovering over, that orange horizontal line. So we're going to go Add Relation. I'm going to select the center of that center line, and we're going to select that line right there, and we're going to make them coincident. Click OK. Let's see. I think that's everything they give us. Does anyone see the mistake? Uh, I'm sorry, what was that? No, that doesn't really matter. That center line is just for reference, so. Look at my two rectangles if there's, and see if you can see something missing before this sketch is complete. That's correct. Do you see what's underdefined? Well, yeah. So, exactly. So, yeah, it didn't tell us how long to make these rectangles. So, if we make them too short, the next step is going to be to do an extruded cut through this part. And you can see it's not going to cut through the ends of the part. If we make them longer, since we're just using them to do an extruded cut, it actually doesn't matter. You can make them as long as you want, and it's still going to cut through the part the way it's supposed to, because it's just supposed to cut two like notches. But in order for this drawing to be fully defined, we do need to give them a length. So at this point, I always just make something up. I'm just going to say, let's see if 1.2 is long enough. Oh yeah, that's plenty long enough. Alright, let's go normal 2. Let's try making it 1. That's too short. Okay. I gotta do 1.2. Alright, close enough. So now that we have everything fully defined, no thanks to our textbook here, we're gonna do an extruded cut to notch out both ends of that shape. So we'll go over to our features tab. We're going to go extruded cut. And the direction is going to be through all. And that just means we don't have to put in a distance to cut. It's just going to automatically cut right through the whole part from top to bottom. Doesn't help us with the width because that's based on the size of our starting rectangle. So let's try changing this now. Oh, we can't. We're in the extrude tool, so never mind. But anyway, so through all just means that it's going to take that rectangle you have and it's going to cut all the way to the bottom of the part. And if your extrude is not going through all, try clicking this direction button here, the little 2 arrows, and make sure that you have those yellow blocks kind of hanging down from your sketch. And click OK. And now we have a chain link. And that was the whole point. So, so that's what that is. Oops. Is everyone still keeping up? All right, great. Cool. So next and final step, we're going to add fillets to the edges of our whole part pretty much. So we're on page 4-8. If you're in the book, you can see they tell you which edges to select. If you don't have the book, you'll see in a second when I do it. So we're going to click the fillet tool here. And for items to fillet, we're going to click this edge here. We're going to click this edge here. So basically the outer edges of your chain link and then the edges of those notches you just made. So you want to click those. And it kind of gets really confusing to look at with all those yellow lines, but we're going to go ahead and click the other edges over here. And then they also want us to do these middle edges here, if that makes sense. So we're going to have to do that, and we're going to have to also flip it over and click them on the bottom as well. It gets really hard to look at with all these yellow lines everywhere. And then under fillet parameters, you need to put in a radius. The radius they want is 0.032. Click 0.032. Oops, 0.032. And hit enter, and those yellow lines should get a lot smaller. You should be able to see where they're going to show up. And so basically you want all the edges except for the holes. Does everyone see what I've got there? We'll click OK. And they should all show up as little rounded edges like that. Alright, so the last thing, in addition to those fillets, they want some chamfers. So we're going to go ahead and do those. And the way you get to the chamfer tool is you click the little down arrow under fillet, and you can select fillet or chamfer. So a chamfer is like a fillet, but instead of rounded, it's flat. It's like you knock off the edge, but instead of rounding off the edge, you make it flat, pretty much. It's like also referred to as a countersink, not to be confused with a counter bore, which is what we did on those holes already. A countersink is when you kind of flatten off the edges. You'll kind of see what I mean. So we're going to go ahead and select the edges we want to chamfer. And we got to do both front and back. So it's going to be the sharp edges of those circles that we have there. So the top and or inside and outside edges. Does everyone see what I'm selecting? Now we're going to flip this around. And we're going to select the same edges on the other side. And I think it's not giving us a preview because the chamfer dimension that's in there right now is impossible. It's too big for what we've got here. So what we're going to put in that box, I don't know where they came up with the number that they put in the box on my screen, but we're going to put 0.032 again. And you should see these preview lines on all the edges you selected. Does everyone see that? All right. Cool. I'm going to click OK. And you should have little flattened edges around these holes here. And that's it. That's the exercise. Everyone totally confused or somewhat confused? Feel like you figured something out? Okay. So this will be posted after, so you'll be able to see, you'll be able to watch it and go through it on your own. If you have the book too, you can always go through these exercises without my lecture if you want to. I'm literally just going through the exercise in the book. So, if it's easier for you to follow along with the book without my inane babbling, then you're welcome to do that as well. You don't have to use my lecture to go through it. I just, hopefully will be able to answer some questions or, help you walk through step by step a little bit. So, there's one more very quick exercise I do want to go through, and it's just on the next page. It's a subcomponent. And the reason I want to do this is so that you see how to do a revolved extrude, and you see how that's used. So we're going to go ahead and you can save this if you want to. Actually, it's a good idea to save this one because we will be using it in the future. So save it as, call it double link. So we'll just go up here, we'll go File, Save As, and I'm going to go, you can put it wherever makes sense for you. I just have some stuff on my desktop here. I think I might already have this one. I think I saved it as Lecture 4 Part Chain Link last quarter. So, so it's going to be the same thing. But you can save it as double link, and you can put it wherever you want. I guess I just saved mine to my desktop. And do that. Now I've got it twice under two different names. Alright. So you can go ahead and close that one if you've saved it. And we'll do new part. Okay. That's just a nuisance message. If you get that, ignore it. Just click OK and move on with your life. Doesn't matter, hopefully. It doesn't matter to me, but alright, so go ahead and go over to page 4-10 and you'll see step 11, creating the subcomponents. So the first subcomponent is the alignment pin, and that's the only one we'll worry about today. You are welcome to go through and do the rest of the subcomponents on your own. In fact, if you want to, it might be helpful, but after going through that first exercise, they're all kind of repetitive, so I'm not going to go through them all in the lecture. Just seems like a kind of a waste of time. So, first subcomponent is the alignment pin. We're going to select the right plane from the feature manager tree. And we're going to go, so if you go over here, you click on right plane, and you get this little box. You can go sketch, and it'll automatically zoom to it for you. If it doesn't, for some reason, you can go over and click the normal to button, and it'll zoom to it for you. But your screen should look like this now. Is everyone with me there? And if you got if you were someone who got lost on or wasn't able to follow along with the first exercise, I still encourage you to do this one. We're starting with a new part, so you should be able to still follow along here. And before we go any further, let's select our units, which are still going to be inches. And go back to our right plane sketch there. And then we're going to sketch the shape that they show on page 4-10, and they don't give you really a step-by-step, they just tell you to sketch it. You're going to use the line tool. So I'll go ahead and sketch it, and if you don't have the book in front of you, just kind of try and copy what I'm doing. I'll go slow. So we're going to start at the origin with a vertical line. We're going to go straight up from the origin. And then we're going to go over to the right. So you should have like an upside down L. And then we'll go down a little bit with another vertical line. Not all the way, you're going to go down like a third of the way down your first line. And then click to let go of that one. And you're going to go off to the right a ways. So this is starting to look kind of like some kind of fastener or pin thing that we're sketching. You're going to go down a little bit, not all the way down, and you're going to stop again. And then you're going to go back to the left. You're going to go almost all the way back to this line here, but not quite. You're going to click right there. And you're going to do an angle and back to the origin. And if you're still working on making that shape, that's fine. Take your time. So once you've all got that shape drawn, you're going to start dimensioning. Let's see. So actually, before you start dimensioning, we're going to do a center line along the bottom of this shape. So we'll select the center line tool, we'll start at the origin, and we'll just go off to the right. Everyone see what I did there? Okay. Is anyone still working on this sketch, or have you all got it? I'll start dimensioning if everyone's...
I've got it.
You got it? Cool. Alright, I'll start dimensioning if everybody's ready for that. Cool. So we're going to start with that first line. We're going to make that 0.25. And before you start dimensioning, also make sure that you are in inches down here, IPS. We'll do this dimension up top, which is 0.15. 0.15. And then the overall length of our shape here is going to be, yes. And then, let's see. So from the top of your little fastener doodad here to the bottom, to the center line, that's going to be 0.158. And then underneath here, that's going to be 0.115. And then the only other thing we need to define is that angle line that we made. So we need to click that line, and then we'll click the center line, and you should be able to make an angle like this. And that's going to be 59 degrees. Nope, there's one more. So that's the length of that bottom line there. And we're going to make that. Oops. We're going to escape out of there because it's got that center line selected still. Just click that bottom line. And that should be 0.425. Is everyone with me? If you've been able to follow along this far, then you should have a fully defined sketch. All right. So the next step here. Mm-hmm.
My issue is that there's no vertical lines. Is this way that when I do the sketch, there's a vertical or horizontal line that I can follow along as a text. But
So like when you go to draw a line, it's not showing you if it's vertical or horizontal? Okay. So one thing you can do after the fact is just sketch it as best you can. Don't worry if it's perfect. You can add those relations afterwards. So, oops, we'll go add relation. And if you, for instance, are not sure that this line is vertical, you can click on it and add that vertical relation right here. You can also do multiples, so you can click this one, click all the lines that are supposed to be vertical, and they should all show up in this box here, and then you just select that vertical relation. And you can do the same thing for horizontal lines. Does that help? Yeah, no problem. So, next step, if everyone's ready, if your drawing isn't fully defined, you didn't get all the dimensions yet or whatever, for the sake of kind of following along right now, just don't worry about it. Just do this next step anyway. We're going to go over to the Features tab, and select revolved boss base here. And you should see it do this, where it turns into a round pin. So what it's doing is it's taking that sketch that you drew and it's revolving it all the way around that center line. So you want to make sure that you've got your axis of revolution selected, and that's your center line here. The direction should be blind, and the revolve angle should be 360 degrees. So that means it goes all the way around. If you were to change that, let's say we were to do 270, it would do 3/4 of the way around. See how it kind of stops? But we want it to be, and we can click this button until it gets all the way there. It's easier to just type it in. So we'll just do 360 here. And click OK. And now you should have a round hollow pin. See that? Kind of nifty, huh? I just find this stuff so satisfying. It's so cool when it works. I think I said that a few minutes ago, but alright. And then the last step they tell us to do is add chamfers. So let's see. They want you to chamfer the top edge and the inside bottom edge here. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick since they say to. So we'll click this top edge here and the inside bottom edge right here. And the chamfer distance is 0.032, which is what I have here. And the angle should be 45 degrees. If that's not what, if either of those is not the value you have, then go ahead and enter those in there. And then click OK. And you should have little chamfers on there. Pretty cute. So now we're going to save this as alignment pin. And I would suggest saving it in the folder where you saved your last part. I'm just going to put mine on my desktop because I don't know. It's where the first one was. So here you go, save as, and you should see your double link in here that you already saved. And this one we're going to call alignment pin. And I already did it, so it's going to ask if I want to replace my previous alignment pin. I don't care. It's the same thing. Yep. But you probably won't already have it saved, so you won't run into that issue. All right. So that's about it for today. Is everyone feeling good about those exercises? Feeling like if cool. And if okay. If you weren't able to do the whole thing just now, go ahead and go through the video after I post it, and you know, try and go through the exercises on your own time when you get a chance. And we will be using these for an assembly later this quarter, so I strongly suggest that you do them now instead of just putting it off. That way you have them saved and you're ready to use them later on. So the assignment for this week, let's see. One second. I'm gonna go to my actual assignments here. No. Nope. No worries. Yeah, I don't think I actually stated that outright, but no write-ups for this class. If you take CAD 2, there are write-ups for CAD 2, but it's a little bit of a uh, different project. So, all right. So this week is going to be Lab 3. And this includes pictures of Jason's hand, not mine. So uh, he came up with this exercise. But we're going to do the same exact thing pretty much. So what you're going to do is, this is just an example, but you're going to come up with something that you could use in any application you think would be useful, and model it in SolidWorks. And it's totally open-ended. You can make it whatever you want. I've had people do um, like curtain rod brackets. I've had people do all kinds of random stuff. So whatever you come up with, just go ahead and design it. Preferably something on the smaller side like this. Um, and if it's within certain dimension parameters, I will be able to 3D print it for you if you want. So this is the fun assignment where we get to try 3D printing. Um, so the let's see, it's described right there in the lab. If it's less than 5 cubic inches or 82 cubic centimeters, so basically 5 inches on a side, in any direction, then I can 3D print it. If it's bigger than that, it's just going to take a long time and it's going to kind of be a prohibitive process to print. So it's up to you if you want to design something that can be 3D printed or not. If not, that's totally fine. I just won't 3D print it for you. but but you'll still, it won't affect your grade if it's bigger than that. That's just up to you. So, any questions? All right. So a couple of quick suggestions, just little ideas. You could do like a phone stand, like a little holder to set your phone in so that it's holding it up. That's one thing that people have done in the past. Um, you could do uh like a curtain rod bracket, like something that you attach to the wall to hang something off of, or like even just like a wall hook, like a wall mounted hook. Um, let's see what else. Um, I've had people do like small hands tools, like you could draw, like reverse engineer and model a screwdriver. Um, you could do um, like a keychain or like some kind of a key fob. There's those like touchless door opener hook things that people sell. That just popped into my mind, but you could do something like that. So I mean, the options are pretty limitless. You can, brainstorm, come up with something you think would be cool. It doesn't have to be something I think would be cool, as long as you can model it. Um, that's what's important. Your part should include at least 3 sketches and 3 features. So extrudes, extruded cuts, chamfers, you know, uh, revolved extrudes, any feature that you could think of that that would help in creating your part, but it has to include at least 3. So at least 3 of those and at least 3 sketches. And for the submission, I'll need you to turn in your part file and a screenshot of your part. Um, the screenshot isn't as important. I'm going to open up your part file and look at it anyway, but do make sure you turn in a SolidWorks part file. And that's about it. I'll go ahead and actually publish this and give it a due date so that you can see it. What's next Monday? The May 1st? That's no, May 3rd. Oh, wow. Alright, so this is due May 3rd. Can't believe it's already almost May. Oh boy. And we're gonna go ahead and do that. Alright. Any questions? Any concerns? I'm sorry, say that again.
Are we doing a midterm next week?
No. I don't have a midterm planned for you, so we might do it the week after. Let me see actually, because I haven't looked. Where are Carl and Jason going? Oh, no, I'm not doing that. That's, I think, only for full-time people, and I'm just a part-time adjunct. So, yeah, no, that'll be cool though. Are they having no classes next week while they're there? Sorry. Ah, okay. Cool. Yeah, so I'm sorry? Okay. So there will be a midterm. I'm not going to do it next week. Let's actually plan for the week after next. And it's gonna be like a homework assignment. I'll give you the whole week to do it. Um, it is a timed quiz, but basically you can do all the work. So I'll show you right now what it looks like so you can see. So there's 4 parts that you need to draw. There's drawings. So for instance, this is the first one. If it loads, see what happens here. I might need to do this differently. I'll download. Okay. So this is the first part. Um, it looks a little scary, but you'll have all week to do these. So basically, you can see all the parts you need to draw before you go into the midterms. So what I would suggest is model these 4 parts and then once you have them all modeled and they're fully defined and you're happy with them, then start the midterm. And I'm gonna give you a ton of time to do it anyway. So once you have those 4 parts modeled, there will be a couple of questions about the parts, and we'll go over that in more detail next week during class. But yeah, don't worry about it quite yet, since I haven't even like really thought that far ahead, to be honest. So next week I was gonna probably talk to you about the midterm, but yeah, cool. All right. So no stress on that front yet. Just work on your lab for this upcoming week. And let's see. That should be it. Is everyone happy with everything? Any issues, any concerns? Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So I'll go ahead and end this, and there are a couple of you who want to meet in my conference room, so we'll talk over there in just a minute. Alright? Okay. Have a good night, everyone.